You used to treat others as if they were you. Now you assess each case. In the past, you considered everyone through the lens of your own self. And while that's always the case for everyone all the time, in your situation, you were treating others much more like they were another version of you. So everything they did, everything they said to you, all the ways in which you looked at them, you were looking through the lens of what you would do, the things that you would say, and interpreting their behavior through that lens. And that seemed to work for the longest time. For the longest time, it seemed that if you just applied this sort of version of the golden rule, then it made sense. And especially in your younger life, you felt like so much more of those people around you were indeed very similar to you, whether or not that was the case. But as you got older and you went through more things, you started to get into conflict with other people that didn't make sense. You started to see that you would try to create resolution between you and the other person, and you would use the filter of your own being and your own way of interacting with the world to try and put together strategies to create resolution, to negotiate with the other person, to come to some sort of understanding. But you started to see that these things were not working. These things were gradually failing all the time. And you couldn't understand why this was. You were thinking, I would like to be treated well. I always give people the benefit of the doubt. I give others a fair go. I don't try and take more than my share. It needs to be a give and take, reciprocity. And you've always been about this. And then you couldn't understand why this was absolutely not working. And that people just kept taking. And you would appeal to them and you say, look, this doesn't make sense. And you started to see some very concerning responses. Oftentimes people wouldn't even respond. They would just give you nasty looks. They would scoff. They would smirk. They would make you feel ostracized. And so you started to censor yourself. You censored yourself at these times because you didn't want to do anything drastic. You didn't know what was happening. You wanted to first understand and interpret these people's behavior before you could understand what was the best action for you to take. But this took a lot longer than you were anticipating, because these people were not acting from a place of good faith the way you do. They were acting from a place of manipulation and deception. So you kept using your own value system to understand what was happening. You kept thinking, I would never try and deceive people. I would never try and get one up on people. I will always try and create reciprocity and fairness. So when you saw that this wasn't happening, you couldn't even fathom what could be the cause. But eventually things came to such a head that the truth became unavoidable to you, and you realized, wow, some people just are out for themselves, and they will say or do anything to get what they want and what they think they need. And you had to realize and acknowledge that there are many different types of people, and many of them, most of them, you would say, are not like you at all. In fact, it's very hard for you to find anyone similar to you. But you keep your mind and your heart open, but now you assess everyone on an individual case-by-case basis, because you realize that without meaning to, you're giving people who didn't deserve it the benefit of the doubt. You are helping them to manipulate you and deceive you without realizing, because you weren't seeing them as they were. You're putting your own bias on them. You didn't mean to, but now you know better, And now you've adjusted your approach.